Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is a Thursday edition here of Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Some shows we have a lot of guests, other shows not so much. Today we do have some guests. The first guest will be Steve Farr, co-director of Uke, the movie that is coming to theaters near you tomorrow. It opens tomorrow. And Steve will tell you when he comes on, it is only going to be in theaters for 1 week. Now, again, if you go back to just a bit outside, that's essentially what that was supposed to be, if you remember. And then what happened? Y'all just showed up. And because you all showed up, they continued that run way longer than they had expected to continue that run because so many people wanted to go see just a bit outside. Then it eventually got to the digital part of things. And I think it got to DVD version 2, if memory serves correct. Got to all of that because the support was so big for just a bit outside. And I would expect, maybe I'll be wrong, I don't think I will be, that Uke will have a similar type run here in movie theaters. Mitch Thunder Nellis and myself were both privileged to get invited to go see this movie last night.
Did you sit next to him?
Absolutely not. In fairness, I sat down first, but there was people on either side of me, and he brought his wife, so there was nowhere for him to sit next to me, even if he wanted to. He did come sit down and talk to me for a couple minutes, though. Neither one of us knew we were going because everybody going was sworn to secrecy. They couldn't tell anybody, so him and I both had no idea the other was going the entire time until we saw each other in the theater. And it was a pretty cool deal, setup type deal where you had, members of the Brewers organization, and I mean, pretty much anybody and everybody, for the most part, was there and walking around and anxious to see the movie all done. Both directors came in, talked to everybody in the movie theater before it started. And again, we'll talk with Steve Farr, one of them, coming up here at 2:40. I didn't really go in with a preconceived notion or expectation of what I was going to see or watch. I was not at American Family Field when they played a bit of this after a game prior. So I really had no idea. What it is a lot of clips and outtakes from Johnny Carson, Belvedere, Mr. Belvedere, the movie he was in, Major League, some clips from that, different commercials he did. So lots and lots of laughter. However, also a large part of this is their ability to have pretty much access to Uke for a year plus, something like that, where they're sitting at his kitchen table and he's showing them pictures and telling stories and talking about everything going on, and having him mic'd up, and Yelich mic'd up. I don't know if Yelich was mic'd up or if they were probably just picking up off Euchre, and them talking multiple times throughout the movie, and then having the pre-recorded studio shots type deal of Levering and Grindle sitting side by side. Josh Mauer with some conversation in there as well. Ken Sommerfeld, the engineer, long time for Euchre. If you've seen some of the people post to social media that were there last night, Tim Dillard, I saw his post, and his post talks about, there's going to be laughter and there's going to be crying. There was crying by me, not by me personally crying, but crying around me way earlier than I thought there was going to be crying as I'm watching this. Like, I'm watching it and I was like, wow, person next to me is crying. Okay. I didn't think we were at that point yet of crying. But as you go into this, it takes you right up to the end of Bob Uecker. That last game, the Mets game, Peralta gives up the bomb to Alonso. they lose the game. That scene is the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching piece of video. That was tough. That was tough to watch. And I was concerned when I was watching it, like, oh, man. Like, don't end it here. Don't let all of us walk out of here with that ending. I mean, we all knew how it ended, obviously, but don't do that to us. And they didn't. They had other stuff they played after that it got everybody back up again before everybody walked out of the theater. I got 2 applauses at the end of the movie. That was really good. They get into the story about how when his son Steve passes and he's in the hospital, leaves, goes straight to do opening day that year. And Joe Block, the play-by-play announcer, that was his first MLB game to call. And here comes Uke with that thing like hanging on him. I couldn't even imagine what that's like to bury your own kid or whatever, or go through that. And then to be right there. And Joe Block talks about that whole process that was going through his head and all of that. Like, there's just a lot. This movie can get heavy at times. And when you watch it, Levering's eyes are tearing up. He's trying not to like start crying like crazy. Grindle is choking up as he's talking. But I would say when this thing opens up tomorrow, I would definitely suggest going because you're going to laugh more than you're going to be like sad and depressed. Lots and lots of places of laughter. And it's cool. Like they had Euchre like on the lawnmower cutting the grass in American Family Field in the outfield, and the grounds crew dude is like poking fun at Euchre and all that, and then back and forth. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that you get to see in the movie. Highly recommend. Totally different than Just a Bit Outside. Totally different. Not even close to being the same feel, the same vibe. Nothing like the other Brewers movie. And how blessed are we as Brewers fans that we literally got 2 movies essentially about our team, our guys, that essentially this one's going to pop. This one's going to pop around the country, the Euchre one. Guaranteed. This one is going to blow up. Probably even bigger than Just a Bit Outside. And Just a Bit Outside blew up because of all the Brewers fans around the country and around the world that are all older now, living in different parts, that all wanted to see it and watch it, and that's how it blew up. This Euchre thing, this is going to blow up because he was essentially the face of the Brewers organization for, 30, 40 years, 50 years, whatever it was, while he was here. Not to mention the national popularity of him and everybody watching him in Major League and Johnny Carson, Mr. Belvedere. Like, everybody is at some point going to want to see this, guaranteed. Bob Costas, of course, is in the movie as well. It is. It's something. It is something you definitely need to see. And I was thinking in my brain, like, number one, you're never going to replace Euchre as far as what he means to a broadcast. And growing up, they were so bad for so long that was the reason you tuned in. You didn't tune in expecting them to win. You tuned in to hear what goofy, funny thing that would make you laugh and have you crying. You're laughing so hard that Euchre would come up with when he was there. And Levering and Grindle and Mauer doing a great job. I got no criticism. I think they're all 3 of them do a great job doing what they do. But again, it's not the same, right? Vin Scully doing Dodgers games forever. It's not the same after that one is done. And you start thinking, okay, so is there another movie that is going to occur at some point that somebody will make a movie on? And I don't know if anybody was thinking of this when it was going down or whatever else, and he's already got several movies, but you would think at some point, potentially, there will be another Giannis movie. At some point, I think that is probably going to occur. And it will occur after he's all done playing. And it will journey you through the championship run with footage, whatever the Bucks footage they may have, this whole period here of what else is going on and that whole transition. Because God knows there's enough video of Giannis. He's doing every podcast known to man right now. So there's that. Then you're going to have whatever happens in Miami. And then him talking on a podcast we'll play later about wanting to come back.
Podcast is in Greek, by the way. I don't know if you actually listened to
Wonderful.
it. Yeah.
And then here's a little clue in for you. I hardly ever watch like whole videos unless it is the roast on MLB Network. Like he did a 6-minute one on Garrett Mitchell the other day. I watch that from start to finish, right? That I like. But if it's like 30 seconds and the script is above it and the quote, I just read the quote. Send it to Charlie. Here you go.
Caption with the actual what he's saying.
So anyways, Giannis in this video says, hey, hopefully when this is all done here, whenever it's done, I'll be able to go back and finish in Milwaukee and go back. And Bucks fans, I'm sure, are all about that, to have that one last run. And this is what Cleveland is hoping. They're about to get out of LeBron, even though everybody thinks he's going to Miami. But that's what Cleveland is hoping for, right? Come here, play a year, retire, we're good, come back and finish it where you started. And I think that's what Giannis would like to do at the end of his career. If he does that, then there's definitely a movie, because then you're going to have video cameras with him that whole last year.
It's going to be that whole last season.
That whole last season, documenting everything and living back the memories and everything else. But outside of that, like if they were going to make one like on the Farr Super Bowl team, that would have been done. The Rodgers Super Bowl team, kind of think that would be done by this point.
Maybe. I know Aaron Rodgers did his little personal documentary with Netflix where it was going through like what he does when he's not playing football. But I think there could be another Aaron Rodgers documentary down the line.
Maybe.
He's an interesting enough person that somebody else would want to dive back into that for sure.
Yep. And I would love one on the championship Bucks season. But I just don't know if anybody was going around documenting that one way or the other. Hopefully somebody will be smart enough to get on the bandwagon of a Brewer season when they actually do this, because when they do this, if they do this before we're dead, that is going to be one everybody's going to want to go see, especially if you have a bunch of characters on the team and so forth. That would be something to a whole nother level, their first World Series.
That's the most bittersweet thing about both of these documentaries, I think, is that both of them, I think, represent Milwaukee and the people of Milwaukee so well. The 1982 team, you watch that and you say that team was the city during that time. They gave the whole city hope throughout that period. And then moving forward, it just rejuvenated the place. And Bob Uecker is Milwaukee. He is the people of Milwaukee. He always was so proud of that, and that was so huge. And to see both of those films end with the Brewers falling a little bit short is just so frustrating. It would be so nice to have one documentary where they're winning it all, and that would be amazing.
The other thing that came up in that Ueck piece last night, again in theaters starting tomorrow, was the whole idea of Uecker essentially telling his wife, hey, if we lose this to St. Louis, no crying. Like, I don't want to hear about it. And then they all get on the bus to go to the plane or whatever, and everybody's crying. Like, the dudes are crying, right? And she's like, they're crying. You're not going to tell me I can't cry at this point, right? Type deal. And, depressed, everything else. And then the plane lands, and like the whole damn city of Milwaukee is waiting for him at the airport, cheering and going crazy. And as you know, they throw them a parade. Mm-hmm. Would we throw a parade for the Brewers if they lost the World Series? Would we do 82 all over again? Because that does not happen today.
No,
not that it happened back then either. I don't think it really happened any other place other than Milwaukee. I just wonder, like, would we do that, or would there be at a party at Summerfest to celebrate, the Brewers going to the World Series, though, even though they didn't win, a huge party, bands playing, them up on stage, everything opened up. Like, do you think you could potentially see that again if they were to go and lose?
No, I don't think so. I think you would have maybe a little thing for them, a little press kind of thing, hang out, maybe a concert where some of the guys show up. You wouldn't have the whole parade. I think the city of Milwaukee was, again, at such kind of a low point before that season and before that team kind of got together, and that they gave them so much to look forward to. And it like I said, it kickstarted back up the city, not just the team, but the city. And that was what was really cool. And I think that right now, the city of Milwaukee, I love the city of Milwaukee. It's so much fun to be a part of. It's so lively. There's so many different things going on all the time, especially during the summer. There's a new festival every week happening at the Summerfest grounds. They don't have room to fit the Brewers in most of the time down there.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember, this won't be till October.
I get it. They still have things going on down there through October.
Yeah,
like they have Oktoberfest. They run that through the beginning of October. Like all these things happen down there.
They'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about that. I do think that they would throw a party.
I'm just saying, I don't think the Brewers are holding the whole city's attention like that, like they were back in 1982.
I promise you, you will never experience anything in your life like it will be in this state of Wisconsin. Not just the
when they win it, but not when they lose.
Just if they get there.
You think?
I'm telling you, if they get to the World Series, dude, people are going to be hammered that night. If they're saying they're going to the World Series, oh my God, they're going to the World Series. That's going to be a thing. Then, stop. Then, listen, if they were to lose, God, that would be heartbreaking. But if they were to lose type deal, I could easily see the city going, dude, come on, man. Let's go party. We got to the damn World Series. Most of us have never even seen them get to the World Series. They actually got there. And especially if the CBA is not fixed. If there is still no salary cap, it still is a gigantic payroll difference and everything else, and you got there. I don't know, man. I think a lot of Brewers fans from all over the state would come show up to hang out and party with Mizorowski and everybody else at Summerfest on, that weekend or whatever it may be when they come back. I could be wrong. Maybe not. Okay, take a quick time. I'll come back. We'll get more into Uke with Steve Farr, co-director of Uke, coming up about 2:40. Trade deadline is coming up for the Brewers. And there was a dude at Baseball America that started putting together kind of a list of like prospects that he wouldn't trade and put out a video on one Brewer prospect that he said would be blocked. Like, nope, I'm not going to let you have this guy off my list. Who would be the guys on your list? If you were to have untouchables, they could be on the MLB level where you're like, I'm not trading Churio. I'm not trading Miz, right? You could be on major league level. They could be prospects. If you know prospects, I know not everybody does. But who would be your untouchables at the trade deadline for, say, Skubal or James Wood or any of these guys that are out there that you know it's going to take a haul? Mason Miller of the Padres. Who are those guys like, nope, I do not care who it's for, Sparky. I'm not trading this person. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials at WI Sports Radio. Are you looking for a college where you can excel in the classroom and on the field? At Bryant Stratton College's Wauwatosa campus, you can compete in the NJC AA Division II athletics with more than 20 men's and women's teams to choose from. Keep playing the sport you love while earning your associate degree in business, healthcare, criminal justice, or digital marketing. Now, again, if you are a parent or a student that's getting close to this time, maybe you're in high school or whatever, you're starting to learn that college it's not cheap. It can be expensive. If you're not going D1 and there's no scholarship money, you're going to be paying for a while for said college education and so forth. At Bryant and Stratton College, athletic scholarships are available for those who qualify, which means they can help you pay for some of your education. And it's a 2-year school, which means it's not going to be nearly as expensive as what you're paying for, say, Madison or a 4-year school somewhere else. Visit BryantStratton.edu and discover how Bryant and Stratton College is built different for you. Again, a JUCO, right? 2-year school. So if you think, man, I was right there, I think I got a chance maybe to be a D1 athlete. So now you're debating D3 or D2. Folks, right here, D2, this is your way home, right? Go play for 2 years, show out, and potentially put yourself in a position to go play D1 after it. And there's scholarships available here. Where those other schools, there's no scholarships. So Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in. Sparky with you. Charlie using over there at Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Farr, co-director of Uke, joins us coming up in about 15 minutes from right now. That movie opens up coming up on Friday. You can follow the movie on X at Uke Movie, UECK Movie on X. So I wanted to get into talking about the MLB trade deadline and the Milwaukee Brewers. And the reason why I want to is because I saw this thing last night by Baseball America, and they had one of their guys kind of going through different, guys that would essentially be blocked if they were in charge of the team. And these are the guys that, cover prospects for a living, just like our guy Sam Dykstra that writes for MILB and MLBpipeline.com. These Baseball America guys have been doing it forever. Jim Callis, who runs MLB Pipeline, was at Baseball America before he left there to go start this. So Baseball America has their blocked MLB prospects. For the Brewers, this is by, let's see, who is this by? Ian Kundal is the guy's name. He has Marco Dingus, who just got promoted to Biloxi.
Interesting.
The catcher.
Uh-huh.
And Jet Williams.
That's it? That's all he has is untouchables?
That's all that he has. He's got 10 in baseball. So he's got a Sox prospect. He's got a Reds prospect. Guardians. Spencer Jones of the Yankees. James
under the
Tibbs
radar
of the Dodgers.
Untouchables? Like, is this... It's like, why would... Like, Jesus Medeiros got to be untouchable, right?
No. He's saying these are guys that are blocked from getting longer looks in the majors.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Okay. I thought you were saying blocked from being traded for.
Because they have Contreras and because they have Jefferson Caro at AAA, Dingus now going to AA.
Wouldn't you trade Caro, though?
These guys are blocked.
He have more immediate value for a lot of teams?
Jet Williams, shortstop, third base, essentially. But they're loaded at that position coming up, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you start talking about guys that potentially could get traded and who might be on your untouchable list, I don't think Jet Williams, I know Jet Williams is not on my untouchable list at this point. And I don't think I would have Jefferson Caro on my untouchable list either. I think I would be open to trading him. Now, I am not trading him and Dingus. Not trading both of them. I'll trade one. But if there's another deal that comes up after I make my first move and they want him, that point, now he's untouchable. Now I can't trade him. I got to have one or the other here for the eventual replacement to William Contreras. And if it's Dingus, that means I play next year with Contreras to give Dingus more time in the minors to get ready for the following year, right? Then I stay with Contreras. If it's Caro that stays and they trade Dingus, then I might feel okay with Caro being the other guy with Contreras during the year and then potentially moving Contreras at the deadline if you feel comfortable with Jefferson Caro, or you just let him walk at the end of the year and take the pick.
What if you were potentially getting a guy like Adley Rutschman back, who's going to end up being a long-term cheaper option than William Contreras, that if you wanted to have that backup option and then you play William Contreras at DH, Christian Yelich gets bumped out of the lineup to more of a part-time role, then you have William Contreras and Adley Rutschman playing together. You can make that work, and then you wouldn't have to worry about keeping around both catchers because then you could work on a long-term deal with him.
I personally am not interested in trading for a catcher. You've got three of them, right? You've got your guy and you've got two minor league guys.
If that's what if those are going to be the most valuable guys on the trade market for some reason, one or the other, that both those guys are getting a lot of interest.
So let me explain something. And I don't know how Matt Arnold, how he looks at all of this. I'll just tell you how I look at it. I look at it like I'm king of the hill. I can get whoever the heck I want. The only one that potentially could stop me would be the Dodgers. Outside of that, nobody else is going to outbid me if I really, really want somebody, right?
Right.
So if you really, really want Mason Miller, you can go get Mason Miller.
Right.
If you want James Wood from the Nationals, you can go get James Wood from the Nationals. Pick who you want. Get on the phone and start figuring out how much. And in some instance, you might have to overpay to convince the team to give you the guy that you think gives you a chance at a World Series. But I know there are a lot of people listening that do not want to trade Jesus Madej for anything. It does not matter who it's for. They are not trading Jesus Madej. I found that out when we brought up the James Wood conversation. He's got 4 years of control left after this year, and you all still wouldn't trade Madej at that point. That's why I wanted to see, because we're closer now. I mean, it's August 3rd, it's the trade deadline. We're real close. I mean, a lot of MLB trade deadline talk now. Who are those guys for you? For me, it's simple. It's Madej and it's Fisher. End of list. Everybody else can be had. Would I like to hold on to Adam Shevsky? I would like to hold on to Adam Shevsky. Would I like to hold on to Braylon Payne, and Ragsdale, the outfielders down there? Sure. There are a lot of guys I don't want to trade. But if it's for a stud, like he is producing at a high level right now in Major League Baseball, and you have him under control for the foreseeable future, I'm in. Now, my list changes greatly if we're talking about a rental. Now my list goes from 2 to about 10 to 15 of guys that, nope, I don't care if it's Scooble for a rental. I'm not moving some of these dudes no matter what. Then I'm kind of more out. But if I'm trading for a guy like Miller or James Wood who have 3-4 years left of control, then yeah, then it opens up much greater at that point.
10 to 15 still feels like a lot. I don't know. I think my list maybe goes down to or grows to 6, 7. Because I think right now, if I'm being completely honest, if it's for the right player, Andrew Fisher is available. Like it's Jesus Madej. That's the only player on my list I think is untouchable. I think if Houston is for some reason going to start shopping guys and Yordan Alvarez is available, like Andrew Fisher's on the table, sure. That's Yordan Alvarez who is leading for Triple Crown right now. Like you have to be able to give that up. Madej is a little different. I think he's just going to be a stud. I think he's a star. I would bring him up to the majors as soon as possible. I would pay him already. Like all these other things, he's going to be.
You think they've waited too long to make a move with him?
Yeah. I think so. They've waited way too long, and now they're talking about paying almost everybody else underneath, or the rumors are paying everybody else underneath him. That's frustrating to me. I think he's the guy who's going to be the future of this team, and you can't really give up on that. Outside of that, yes, you have a lot of guys who could be future parts of this team, but you also have in Jacob Mizorowski and Luis Lar and Cooper Pratt, a lot of young guys that you've already brought up to the major league level. So now if you have 10 to 15 guys that you're going to save underneath that, there's just not that much room for a lot of these guys. You're going to have to start picking them out one by one and doing that sooner rather than later, before maybe they get up to the AAA level and they struggle at the AAA level, or maybe before you get into the major league level and they struggle there for some reason. Move them while their value is high. And right now the Brewers have the highest value on the large number of prospects that a lot of other teams just don't have, and they'd be willing to pay extra for that, I think.
I just called up the talking text line. Apparently earlier when I was talking, and either you caught it and chose just to let me go or not. Yes, I should have said Devin Williams gave up the home run to Alonso. I know it wasn't Freddie Peralta. I just clearly misspoke while I was talking. Ziggy said if there's a Brewers World Series movie, it needs to be narrated by Tim Allen. Yeah, I'm all in on that idea. From the 608, Luis Pena, Jefferson Caro, and Logan Henderson for Mason Miller.
No, I don't want to give up Pena for that. Again, he's still I get he's awesome, but he throws really hard. I get worried about injuries at some point. He's a closer. I think the Brewers have been able to find success with guys that aren't going to cost as much as him in positions like that. I think they can figure it out elsewhere without giving up your number 2 prospect for a closer.
I tend to agree about not wanting to overpay for a closer because, again, this organization has a history of making closers out of nothing, really, at the end of the day. But he is definitely the premier closer. You would have him and Uribe for the next several years together in that back end of that pen. Trevor McGill's going into the last year of his contract next season. He's going to be 33 next season. So if you think Uribe is the long-term answer, then you don't need to trade for Mason Miller. But if you think you're going to need somebody besides Uribe and you don't have one right now, and they might, but if you don't think they have one, then Miller, I guess, makes sense.
I think I would go I'm okay with trading Caro and Henderson. And if you wanted to throw in a third prospect, sell high on Luke Adams right now while he's playing hot. I think that's a guy I'd be willing to sell on, especially if you think Andrew Fisher is just going to jump him eventually. And Blake Burke's been playing as well as he is. You have options at corner infield besides him.
Trade deadline's going to hurt my soul.
It's going to be so bad.
These prospects get traded. It's going to be like losing your children. It's going to be so hurtful. Oh, my goodness. Steve Farr, co-director of Uke, is coming up next. You're going to want to hear that. We talked about it in the first segment. We go more in-depth with Steve coming up next. Summer's better with a Frosty in your hand. For a limited time, Wendy's is giving you a sweet deal on your fave summertime treat. A small classic Frosty for only $1. That's right. Summer should be fun, not expensive. Treat yourself and celebrate $1 Frosty Summer at Wendy's. But hurry, because this deal's over when summer's gone. So get it while it's hot, or, cold in this instance. Steve Farr is next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen producing Other Side of the Glass. I want to get the Detroit side of things with Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize, and the like. Jeff Rieger from 97.1 The Ticket will join us coming up at 4:20. I really want to know what Tiger fans are thinking. That's really what I want to know. Like, are they for trading him or are they against it? Because as usual, the national media is all about trading superstars out of their towns. That's everybody. Oh, they should trade Skubal. They're crazy if they don't.
Skubal says he wants to be in Detroit. That's what he said.
We'd like Milwaukee too, though. Time now to be joined on our guest hotline by director of Uke. You can follow the movie on X at Uke Movie. Guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call. That is all.
I don't know if he can hear you.
All right, Steve.
Steve, I'm not hearing you.
Yep, you are not hearing me. Down you go, and you are just going to have to call him. So you come over here, you get his phone number, and I'm not sure why that happens sometimes. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I have his phone number now that I'm thinking about it, because I sent you the email with him, right? Of that. So yeah, you may have to figure out a way to call Mr. Steve Farr or figure out a way to message him in the chat to tell him how to hear us one way or the other. But we will get Steve Farr on here. Don't worry. Charlie Usen will figure that out and we will get a hold of him one way or the other. Potawatomi Sportsbook, 2 levels of seating, 2 levels, and all kinds of different options of levels of seating there. On the ground level, you have high tabletops, you have gigantic booths that, can hold 8 to probably 8 people or so in those booths. You got these like recliners, 2 rows of like leather recliners in the first 2 rows, looking up at this 2,000 square foot center screen that is amazing. Over 30 different sporting events they can show at one time. And then, of course, you got to talk about the food, right? The Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen, unmatched. Full menu, all-day brunch. They got steak over there, too. Steak and eggs. They got pancakes, all kinds of different options for you for that. And then you've got wraps and salads and burgers and chicken wings and all of that fun stuff that you would want. Homemade dessert and pastries to go along with everything else made every day at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. And don't forget, over 40 beers on tap, over a dozen different specialty cocktails. And you have the shuttles that take you to and from home Brewers games to go along with everything else. Now, how do you get on the shuttle? Well, first thing you do is you park in the parking garage, right? Take that skywalk over there to the 4th level, on the 4th level, and down to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Then you go up, you make yourself a wager. $5 wager is what it has to be on something going on that day. And then tell them, hey, can I get a bracelet? I'd like to take the shuttle over to the Brewers game today. And they give you a little bracelet to put on, and then you hop on the shuttle and you're good to go. The shuttle will bring you back after the game. Hopefully the Brewers win the game if you're betting on the Brewers. Cash in, you make some money on the deal, and everything is all set at the end of the day, and you're ready to roll at that point. So always something good to do there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Brewers, Rockies coming up next. That series is going to be entertaining. And then Monday, the Brewers travel out west and start a West Coast trip. So then we're back to late night games. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow afternoon for that Friday afternoon game, that game starts just after 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So when you're thinking, oh, it's a night game, it's not. 3 in the afternoon. The reason why it's 3 in the afternoon is because once that game is done, about an hour or so after that game is done, they're going to have that Legends baseball game, right? Niger Morgan's coming back. Prince Fielder's coming back. Ryan Braun is going to be there swinging the bat. Corey Hart, I believe, is part of them. Eric Thames is back as well. Who else? There's a ton of them. So that is going to be entertaining in itself. So that game will probably get done around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I would assume that Legends game will start somewhere around 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And I believe they're broadcasting that too this year, so you can watch that. Tim Allen and I will be on the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show tomorrow night after game 1 between the Brewers and Rockies. Leadoff show tomorrow afternoon starting at 2 o'clock. And looking forward to seeing how the Brewers do here, because you want to go get ready for this West Coast trip the correct way, right? You don't want to have yourself in a position where you are going out west to San Francisco on Monday having lost 2 of 3 to a bad Rockies team, for sure. All right, we'll try this again. This time on the phone, he is Steve Farr, co-director of the movie Uke that I had a chance to see last night. Comes into theaters starting tomorrow for 1 week. Steve, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, hey, no problem. Good listening to you or hearing you now, Sparky.
You betcha. Hey, all right, so let's get to it. We did pretty much our whole first segment of the show today on the movie after I had a chance to watch it yesterday. And we've had you on previously kind of leading up to this. So just for people that don't know, I kind of explained it as there's a lot of clips from different things that he's done. So there's Johnny Carson clips, Belvedere, Major League, all of that. But really the meat and potatoes is this thing is you guys had the opportunity to kind of have inside access on Euchre for a good amount of time and got to witness a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started this in, 2022, started talking about it when he agreed to doing it. And, we were filming at spring training in 2023, shot that entire season, shot the whole 24 season and a little bit of 25 actually after he passed. So we spent quite a bit of time with him. Particularly early on before his diagnosis, when he was diagnosed with cancer. That was probably May of 23. We had to kind of cut back a little bit on what we were doing just because he was in treatments a lot. But, we still we were at the ballpark a lot with him. And that ballpark footage became even more important. The Brewers were so good those seasons. So it had to be part of the story also. And so that was kind of, I think, the film, the balance is basically Bob's life and the Milwaukee Brewers season and how Bob fit into it.
And, you're sitting there, you're filming, and that last year, you're thinking to yourself, I would assume, because we were all thinking it like, okay, we're going to get on a run. They're going to get on a run here for Euchre at the end here. He's 90. They're going to put on a show here. And then, Devin Williams gives up that big home run to Alonso. And to me, that scene of, just him just kind of looking out into yonder, realizing what all is, it's over and all of that, that is by far the most powerful scene in that movie.
Yeah, no doubt. That and him returning for the 24 season, and we weren't sure if he's coming back, and he shows up in the booth and the fans see him there. And that's an emotional moment. But in terms of just kind of heartbreaking, and certainly what you're talking about after that home run. And, Bob asked us not to be in the booth that day. And so we had a very long lens that we were able to film from outside in. And, it was kind of strange. You almost felt like you were a voyeur or like eavesdropping on something you shouldn't be. But we just kept shooting, and we just said, all with the fans walking in front of the camera, it just made it even more like dramatic, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's all there, the last call, like the last time he takes his headset off, and then just a long pause looking out in the field. I hate to say it, but I feel like he ages in that 30 seconds. He gets old.
Yeah, again, talking with Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. Follow them on X at Uke Movie in theaters for a week to start off with. I'm guessing it'll be extended if you guys pack the movie theaters. That starts tomorrow. Then you'll get a chance to meet Steve Farr because he's going to every little small community across the state of Wisconsin for the next year after that. So you'll be able to meet Steve Farr.
Not a year, but
hey, I want to go back to that moment in the movie, and I don't want to ruin this for everybody and tell everybody how this ends, but I was concerned while I was watching that and everybody was like crying in the movie theater. I was concerned. I was like, please don't let this end this way. Please don't go black and that's the end of the movie and whatever.
Yeah.
And you didn't. You went somewhere else and kind of brought everybody back up to end the movie. Whose decision was that? Was there talk of always ending it that way? How did that come to be?
There were so many iterations of the edit that I don't think there ever was one that ended with that moment because we knew we couldn't edit there. We do go to the locker room.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't get any happier at that moment, but I think the way we knew it had to end up on a reasonably upbeat, sequence of shots. And unfortunately, after Bob passed, all the craziness with the winning streaks and the euchre magic and all that, things that happened in 2025, we put that together as a montage for the credit sequence.
Yep, that was great.
And I think the way we managed the bringing in the Hall of Fame after he passed, is that how it works? I'm trying to think right now.
Yeah, that's how it passed. Yeah, that's
right.
how. Yep.
That's. I thought that we were always like, where do we put the Hall of Fame, because it's important. And we realized we kind of start with the Hall of Fame. We said, well, maybe we should put it here and use his speech, because he thanks everyone. And we were able to just basically use his speech and cut away to the people that he's thanking. And I always get moved by that.
Yeah. No, it was very, very well done. And, we just had the other Brewers movie that was just out, Just a Bit Outside.
Right.
And we were able to watch that. And when we started the show talking about this, I'm like, this is nothing like that. Like, these are two completely done movies in two different ways. And those people that packed movie theaters for that movie, them and probably a whole bunch more now will pack for Euchre, because Euchre is not just local. Euchre is a national thing, right? It takes even longer. Hey, can you hold on if I hold you over the cross of the top, or do you have to go do another interview?
No, I'm good.
You're good? All right, hold on one second, because we're on a statewide network here. So you're on in Green Bay, Wausau, Duluth, Superior, Madison. You're all over the place. And it took us a little while to get this thing started, so I don't want to run out of time here. So hold on one second. We'll get back to him. He is our guy, Steve Farr, co-director of Uke, and we'll get back to more of talking about this movie after I had a chance to see it last night. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer here, Charlie Usen on the other side of the glass. Still to come, 3 o'clock hour, we will get to the new CBS 58 sports anchor in Milwaukee and Charlie's Sounds of the Day, all straight ahead. But more Steve Farr next.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky, Charlie Usen producing the show. He was nice enough to hold over another segment. I'm sure everybody wants to talk to him. Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. Follow the movie online at Uke Movie. This movie's going to open up around Wisconsin, 17 different Marcus theaters coming up tomorrow. There are some sneak previews at many of the theaters tonight as well. Steve, thanks for hanging on the line, man. Appreciate it.
No, not a problem. Happy to be here.
Okay, so let's continue on talking about some of this other stuff. I think another moment in this movie that I had never really considered was at the point when Euchre loses his son, leaves the hospital, goes to the game, and then there is Joe Block anxiously awaiting to do his first MLB regular season game. It's opening day and all of that. And then that happens. And, Joe talks about the emotions he's going through right before, what should have been like a huge moment for him.
Yeah, it's another emotional scene, isn't it? Obviously, Bob's son, Steve, passed away at 52 years old. And the day he passed happened to be the opening day for the Brewers. And Bob visited with Steve, knew that was probably the last time we'd see him, and went and called the game. And Joe talks about how do you handle something like that? It's literally your first game with Bob, and Bob just said, Joe, let's just call the game, and that's what they did. And Sue Euchre talks about it. She talks about being mad that her dad went and called the game, but then she talked about receiving literally boxes of letters and cards from Brewer fans saying how much it meant to them that Bob showed up.
Talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean it's I don't want to tell the whole story, but,
right.
but that's essentially that's it. I mean it's remarkable, that I can understand why some people might have been offended by it. Bob talks about it in the movie, but he just had to do what he did. Like, I always think the stadium or the booth was home for him.
Yeah,
that's probably where he's most comfortable. So, that's where he needed to be.
I totally understand that part of it. We talk about the all access that you had. I mean, you had access to go sit at his kitchen table with him and her, and look through pictures and all of that. How much footage did you shoot at that kitchen table versus how much did you actually use?
That was funny. That wasn't really planned. We had talked about doing that at some point, but we were showing up for just another day of an interview with Bob, and we were setting up the lights and cameras in the other room, and Judy came out with a box, and then Bob sat down at the table and they started, it wasn't planned. So we just walked over and he's showing me some pictures. I said, I think we need to start shooting this now. And so that's what we did. And I love to see, I mean, it's not lit particularly well, but there's something just so intimate about that. And it was really random. It was kind of, whatever came out of the box was what he talked about. There wasn't like we had picked through looking for the best stuff. I don't know. We probably shot for 45 minutes, an hour of him. When you end up in the movie, maybe 5 minutes, something like that.
How much of it was scripted? Maybe a little bit. And like one of the scenes I'm thinking of, when he hops on the lawnmower and goes out there and starts cutting the grass and all of that. Where did that idea come from?
He wanted to do that because we were talking about things. We said, well, what can we do, Bob? I'd love to go fishing with you. Yeah, we can do that. And said, everybody says that your daily routine is you pull in, park your car, go visit the warehouse guys, you visit the groundskeepers, and that's true. That's what he did. And I said, why don't we just do that? We'll follow you around. And so we spent, a morning doing that. And but he had also said, sometimes I mow the lawn. It was like, well, we should probably get that right. And so he was, and Ryan Woodley, the head groundskeeper. I mean, he's hilarious.
Yes,
I mean,
he was.
The two of them together are just, really funny. Great timing. It almost does seem like it's scripted.
Yeah.
I mean, and Bob was performing a little bit, but that was fine. We eventually, we got him comfortable with us just being around and not feeling like he had to talk to the camera and things like that. Because that was pretty early on when we did that. But I do remember at one point that wide shot where it's a lateral shot where he crosses through frame, which is hilarious. And I remember just running with my camera because I knew I had to get that. I'm glad I ran.
Yeah, no, it looked really good. Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. That movie opens up again tomorrow in 17 Marcus theaters. Make sure to check that out. Follow him on X at Uke Movie. The relationship between him and Yelich, I think, was pretty much known from fans, but you really get to understand that Yelich was literally the only player that knew what was going on with Uke health-wise.
Correct. And strangely, we got that on film, and we had a number of conversations about whether or not we should use that. We had to work with the Euchre family and the Brewers and things like that, and there was varying degrees of comfort with that, but ultimately, I think we all thought it was important that it be there. And I think it's almost shocking when you see the movie. I mean, people talk to that, so they can't believe we got that at that moment. And what basically happens is that Bob tells Christian that he doesn't say literally he's got cancer, but he talks about he's going through the treatments, and he tells Yelich that he's the only one that knows. So I don't know. There's a lot of people that he had told. I got the feeling over time that he had told a lot of people, but nobody was talking about it. It's remarkable to me that somehow it didn't slip out because I'm sure there was a handful of people out there that knew. But yeah, the relationship was you try to find characters when you're building a film.
Yep.
Who are the people we're going to build this film around, and Robin Yount is one of those people, and Christian Yelich is kind of the present day version of Robin. He and Bob were very close.
Yeah, I mean, Yount was 18 when he gets to the Brewers, and Euchre practically raised him, 6 to 9 months out of the year throughout his career, from being a kid to being a professional athlete to, being an adult type deal. Euchre was there for the whole thing.
Yeah, that footage we found of spring training in '74.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And you understand why they called him the kid, because he's a kid. I mean, he doesn't look 18. He looks 15.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right about that. He is Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. And of course, you can follow the movie on X at Uke Movie. You shoot all of this. You have all of this footage. I'm sure you have way more footage that didn't make the movie that's, sitting on the floor, whatever else. Is there a piece that didn't make the film that you wish you could have figured out a way to get into the film?
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, there's not a piece. There's many pieces. There's hours probably. Last Thanksgiving was the first time we had, because we had hundreds of hours of our footage, archival footage, game footage, to kind of pour through. And our editor, Matt Precop, just did an amazing job with, boiling this all down. But I remember last Thanksgiving, he called and said, I got something to watch. It's 6 hours long. And,
6 hours.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get right on it.
Send us the link. And, it was for a 6 hour film, it wasn't too bad, but obviously we had to get it to 90. So 4.5 hours were gone. So yeah, I wish I could point out one single thing for you. I should probably think about that because other people are going to ask that. But there was, I always wish there was. We found a spot for Orchard Field.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bob grew up 6 blocks from there, and he told some great stories about walking there as a kid. His buddies were selling programs at the games, or they'd ride their bikes over and look over the fence. kind of that classic, 1930s, 40s, kid story, right? And there was a version that had that in it, but there's just no room. So now he kind of his introduction to baseball is kind of Milwaukee Braves, but he was probably, he was almost 20 years old when that happened. So
I was there last night, obviously, and watched the film. I wasn't in the Cool Kids theater. I was in the other theater.
Sorry I missed you.
In the Cool Kids theater, was Hank Aaron's widow? Was she in there? Because she was just here for the Hank Aaron type day, and he talks about Hank a lot in that movie.
Oh yeah, he does. It's a good question. I don't know. When we went in, we gave a little introduction, and it's hard to see.
They said you got played off. I don't think that was a little introduction.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was rambling, but no, all of a sudden the movie started. The lights went down and the movie started. So I said, well, I guess I'm done. So.
Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. Follow him on X and follow the movie on X at a Uke movie. Again, statewide tour of the movie. Again, people are listening to us on the game in Duluth, Superior, on WNFL in Green Bay, Appleton, the Fox Valley, on the game in Wausau, on the Fan in Madison, of course, the Fan here in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin as well. So the statewide tour starts the week of August 6th. And they're going to go around and chat with, fans around the state of Wisconsin. And there's going to be Q&As at different theaters across Wisconsin. So you are going to have time to figure out an answer to that question, because I would assume somebody else will ask it besides me. I think I might be right on that. Steve, thanks so much for coming on, man, and spending another segment with us. I do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Steve Farr, co-director of Uke. Again, follow them online at Uke Movie. Coming up next, Cameron Ezeir, who is the new sports anchor at CBS 58 after spending some time in Green Bay. A lot of you at WNFL, listening to WNFL in Green Bay, are familiar with Cameron and have seen his work. And he worked with Ryan Wood, too. We're going to talk about that. That's coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Don't forget, the Minions really want to impress their new big boss, Wendy's. So they cooked up some fun chaos for the fans. Say hello to the Minions and Monsters meal, featuring one of 4 unique collectibles. New Banana Frosty Swirl, your choice of a Big Bacon Classic or spicy chicken sandwich, plus a small fry. It's time to go bananas over this exclusive Wendy's experience. Limited time only. Cameron joins us next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer here. Charlie using and producing. Still to come. Jeff Rieger, 97 won the ticket in Detroit. We'll get his thoughts on. Are they really going to trade Scooble? They can trade Mize. Because there seems to be debate of whether or not they should trade him or not trade him. So I would like the Detroit perspective. Because from a Brewers fan perspective, both would be fine in a Brewers uniform to help out this rotation. So we'll get to that. I will be honest with you when I say that on this Wisconsin Sports Daily show that we've been doing now for 2 years, right? We normally don't have a lot of TV sports anchors on. The guy that we used to have on all the time was Kevin Holden from CBS 58 Crunchy. And he would come in and fill in and host and do all that stuff and was awesome. And then he moved to the Carolinas, and that was the end of that. We still have him on from time to time. We've had Lance Allen on once because back in the day when he was at the Channel 4 affiliate in Milwaukee, they never let him come on with me. So that was nice. So now once he had CBS 58, we're able to have Lance on. And now I get to welcome in another new guy, CBS 58 as well, smiling face looking at me. Cameron Ezeir joins us now, sports anchor CBS 58, coming from Green Bay. So those of you listening on WNFL, you know all about the dude. You've been watching the dude. Follow him on X by reverse, Ezeir Cameron. It's Ezeir. In case you don't know how to spell his last name, Cameron on X, and you're good to go. Thanks for coming on, man. A lot of stuff going on. I mean, you leave Green Bay, and then Kyle Malzahn gets promoted to sports director at the same time, right?
Yeah, no, it's great to be on with you, Sparky. And yeah, Kyle, my coworker, former coworker, one of my best friends in the industry. It's a dude that I somewhat shared a desk with, where our backs faced each other, but a lot of the times in our sports office, we'd actually turn around and talk to each other, which is a good thing. Love him to death. So thankful for him. And I was on the phone with him last night, just giving him his flowers and his congratulations. I love seeing all the comments on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it may be, and everyone congratulating him. He deserves that more than anyone I know.
So before you got to Green Bay, though, you aren't a Wisconsin native. So tell everybody kind of your background that led you to come to Wisconsin to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I can lie and say I wanted the snow. I'm from San Diego, California, which when people hear that, it's like a buzzword in their mind to say, why in the heck are you in the state of Wisconsin? Why'd you leave San Diego? I was never really a Southern California kid. I'd always keep to myself in my room, and my mom always said I grew up with a suit and tie, more of an East Coast type. So I went to Syracuse in upstate New York for college.
Oh, he's one of those Syracuse guys. Oh, God.
Here's the thing. This is why I just said, Sparky, I just said I went to college in upstate New York. I try to avoid even saying it. You talk about the buzzword of San Diego. Why are you here? The buzzword of Syracuse is exactly that.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate for my time there, and the people there were great. And I came from a place in San Diego, and especially in my small town where I grew up, where there weren't a lot of people going into sports and doing this whole sports media thing. So I'm very thankful for Syracuse, because I got there and I was put in a group chat with 20, 25 like-minded people who are still some of my closest friends. And you know, the gig, right? You apply to 150, 200 jobs, you send out cold emails, all of that stuff. And funny enough, I had interviews in Madison and Green Bay. So it kind of felt like my fate was to be in Wisconsin, got the job in Green Bay. And that was some of the best years of my life. And now just moving down the highway, and here I am in Milwaukee. And I am forever indebted to everyone in Green Bay. I was told to tell you that you have way too many Christmas trees.
Yes, Crunchy Kevin Holden, funny. I just showed him a nice lunch spot today. But since he wants to come at me, then let's talk about the boy Ryan Wood, the Packers beat writer for the Green Bay Press Gazette. He's been on with me for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, whatever it's been. However long he's been in Green Bay, we've had him on over the course of time. I don't understand, and you can explain this to me. Why is it, because him and I were talking about this earlier today, why is it that TV stations don't have a deal with like Men's Warehouse or something to where when you bring guests on, or for yourselves in general, right, there's just a rack of like suit coats just all there. Pick a size, pick a color. Let's go out there versus watching that god-awful, ugly pink suit coat of his. Every time I saw it, it's like, dude, buy another suit coat. What is your problem?
Well, it's for a specific month. I'm fairly sure Ryan wears it for that month of time. I can't tell you the exact reason. I honestly, I think it might be for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I don't want to throw that your way and say that that's a bad choice because it's representative of that. But no, I like it. I like the style because you know what it does, Sparky? It allows me to wear the blue and the charcoal and to be more of the basic type where I
Yeah.
don't have to be the flashy sizzle. Here's my, yellow plaid, my euchre-like suit. That I leave that to Ryan Wood. He's got whatever style he's got. We had Marcus Eversole who had the same thing. He sometimes wore the jacket with the shirt underneath. So I was the very cut and dry host, and they got to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, Ryan is a look at me guy. If we really talk about Wood, that
He's
really,
listening
I'm
right
over
now,
here. Look at my
too.
bald head; it's tan. It's real nice. Look at me, right? I mean, that's Ryan. That's fine. I love Ryan Wood. Okay, so I want to get your thoughts quickly here while we have you on. First, your thoughts on the Packers, kind of going into the season at 4:00. We do our Green and Gold update every day, and I'm going to riff off of something that they did on ESPN. They did training camp storyline, the big question heading in. And Rob Domofsky did a thing talking about, can they avoid another epic collapse at the end of a season like they had last year? My question to you is, what advice would you give Matt LaFleur and how to avoid another late season collapse like last year?
Oh, I don't know if Matt LaFleur wants to ever hear from me because I'm the guy in the back with all the cameras, and I think he prefers the Ryan Woods of the world in the front. But if I was to give advice, I think it's just don't take your foot off the gas pedal early on in the season because what do they say? What happens, what is it like? How you do anything is how you do everything. And I think early on in last season, people didn't take into account how much that Browns collapse, how much that the end of the second quarter and the entire second half against Dallas then played a part in what they were toward the back end of the season. Now, I understand in those games they had Micah Parsons and they had Devontae Wyatt and Tucker Kraft. So, yes, they were very different when they lost the 5 in a row. But the year prior, they lost their final 3 games of the season if you include the playoffs. So I just think it's about building habits early on. And if they're losing games because they're just losing games, I think honestly that is a lot better than what we've seen out of the Packers the last couple of years, which is they're losing games when they shouldn't. So that kind of snowballs, and next thing you know, that's what this Packers team is known for. You take your foot off the gas pedal, and all of a sudden that becomes a consistent theme. So I'd say early on in the year that can't happen because then that becomes your MO. It's in the back of your mind, and then it could come back up later on in the season.
Isn't it just don't have Micah Parsons get hurt in the second half again? I mean, that defense was not the same defense once Micah Parsons went down. And I think you could argue this year it might go in reverse order and thankfully their first 4 games are all winnable games before the Bears. But now this year, it might be different where this defense really picks up steam with a new defensive coordinator. You get Micah Parsons back. They could be playing their best football going into the postseason. And I think you could argue last year they were not even remotely close to playing their best football defensively at that point.
And I think a good example of what this team will get out of Tucker Kraft post-injury, what they'll get out of Micah Parsons post-injury, mainly with Micah because he'll come back halfway through the year or a little before that, is what Christian Watson did. Right? He proved that even off of an injury, he can play his best football when he's fully ingrained and he's given time to ingrain himself in the offense. And in this case, for Micah, the defense. Yeah, if you could tell Matt LaFleur, hey, all you have to do to be successful and to not collapse late in games for your team is you have a magic wand and you get to pick 3 guys that you don't want to get injured per game. Yeah, that could be great. I don't know if that's sound advice, though, because if you could do that, then Matt LaFleur would sign on the dotted line 100 times out of 100. So I do think that they need everyone healthy, but I also think that they were in it. They should have beat the Bears on the 20th of December. They should have also beaten the Bears in the playoffs without those key pieces. It just felt like, the consistency of the team and what we saw the collapses early on, it just came back to bite them. And now there's more experience under this team's belt. I think they'll be a whole lot better for it.
Cameron Ezeir, new sports anchor at CBS 58 in Milwaukee, coming from his time in the Fox Valley in Green Bay, joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Were you for or against cutting the veteran kicker in place of a rookie?
Oof, that's a great question because I don't know if anyone was completely against getting rid of McManus. They were just against the notion of, hey, we want competition, and now there's no more competition. Like, why even say and bring forward that narrative if you know you're just going to get rid of the veteran kicker? Honestly, I don't think I'm going to have an answer until we get into camp, because Trey Smack had his up and down moments during OTAs and during mandatory minicamp that I'm not going to know until we get to the first week of the season, because we saw what happened years ago with the backup quarterbacks. The Packers didn't want any of them, so you drop both. You bring in Malik Willis, he's a hit, right? We saw what happened with the Braden Narvisons of the world and names that trigger people in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And you bring in kickers that have success. I mean, people forget Brandon McManus had a couple walk-off kicks in his first couple weeks with the team. So I can't give you a definitive answer. Right now, I'll say it's better for Trey Smack to get the reps, because it's not like a Brandon Cisse where he has to fully learn from someone else. It's good to learn from someone, but with kicking, it's all about reps. Like, someone can tell you to put your leg through the ball in some way. I also think the Packers didn't have a choice. I think this is Brandon McManus's decision. I don't know for sure. So I'll tell you and give you more of a definitive answer when we get to the beginning of the season to see if Trey Smack is the guy, because training camp will be a huge indicator if he was the right choice for the Pack.
I don't think I'll know. I'll know come December when it's snowing, it's cold, the winds are blowing, and this dude's got to figure out how to deal with it. When you had a guy, at least had been in it a little bit, that you decided to move on from. You just gave McManus a new contract because you, the general manager, didn't want to deal with finding a damn kicker. Like, I thought it was plain and simple. Good. I don't want to go through that ever again. Here you go. Go do it. And he has a bad game in the postseason, and see ya. Prior to that, he had made 13 in a row or something like that. So either way. All right, let's switch gears. I want to get your thoughts on all three pro teams. Brewers, what do you do at the deadline if you're Milwaukee?
Oh gosh, I've said that this Brewers team, as baseball is run, is you need, like, they have everything they need. They just have to be healthy at the right time. That's just kind of how the playoffs work. We saw it with the Rangers and the Diamondbacks making the World Series a few years ago. You don't have to have the best team. Now, obviously, the Dodgers have won the last 2 years with the best team, but I do think the Brewers have what they need. If they're going to add, and it's not just be healthy come playoff time, you need a starter in that rotation. If you just look at the NLDS, let's say the Brewers win the division, they're a top seed in the NL, so they skip out on the wild card. You need a rotation to go 1, 2, 3, where you're confident in your top three pitchers. Obviously, you feel confident about Jacob Mizorowski, even though the fatigue and him only going 4 innings this last outing is a little concerning. Kyle Harrison, you thought he was your ace number 2. He's been on the IL for a little bit, so you have to see how he responds. And then after that, you went from hoping that Brandon Woodruff would pitch on a consistent basis to pretty much losing him for the rest of the season, and him probably, calling it a career with the Brewers, that is, because he's only under that 1-year deal. I think you need a starting arm. I like their addition of Lance McCullers. You add to that bullpen. I mean, this is a team still with a, top 5 ERA in baseball, and it's largely because of those relievers. But you need a third or even a second arm in terms of who's in that 2 or 3 spot to solidify that you go into the playoffs knowing, hey, we have a plan come NLDS time, and then even the CS after that. Because last year you saw, they were throwing out relievers to start the game, and they didn't really know what they were doing because they didn't have the necessary pieces. I think the bats are fine. Be hot at the right time, stay healthy. You saw what happened with Joey Ortiz. It makes 0 sense. You're a shortstop, you switch to third base, and then all of a sudden you're, the best hitter in the lineup. So I think for the bats, they don't need to add anyone there. They have the prospects that they can bring up. It's really the starting rotation.
I have a challenge for you.
Ooh.
If I told you that you potentially could get a guy that has 28 home runs right now, 69 RBIs, 15 stolen bases right now, leads the lead in walks with 81, hitting 270 with a 397 on base, 551 slugging for a 947 OPS, and you get him for 4 more years after this year, do you hesitate trading anybody in the farm system for that player?
What position are we talking?
James Wood.
Okay. Yeah. So
corner outfielder. So instead of the slap hitting Frelick and Lara, you get a guy that you can put in the middle of that lineup for the next 4 years, bare minimum, that is going to change how this lineup is looked like.
So, Sparky, I have a unique perspective because if you remember, James Wood was in the Padres organization to then go over to the Nationals, same with the CJ Abrams and that
Yep.
Juan Soto deal. And everyone in San Diego loved the guy. The potential was there. The ceiling was so high. And just as Abrams has showed that all-star potential, I would say yes. Do the Brewers do it? They would need to give up, knowing that there's the 4 years of control. The Brewers
Madej's got to go. Madej's got to go.
I agree, and also I come from the Fox Valley where we've seen Luis Pena as a number 2 prospect, and he's still in the Timber Rattler system, even though he just played in the Futures game. Like, at what point are you moving him up to Biloxi? He had an injury, that health scare as well. I think that they have the system and the amount of guys in the farm to send him. I would say yes, but that's just not really that's not how the Brewers roll.
You said you didn't need a bat. You said we're good with the bats. That's why I wanted to challenge you with a bat to see, are you really saying no to all bats or where you're at on this? I
don't think they need it, Sparky. I think you need an arm start. You need a starter first. If you have to give up prospects for someone in your starting rotation that you can still have control over for a little bit of time, or for a big time bat like James Wood, I think you veer towards starter more so than Wood.
Let's switch gears and go to the Bucks. Do you think the Bucks have handled the offseason as well as they could have concerning Giannis, Summer League, draft, all that stuff? We know Gary Trent was stupid, so don't bother with that. But the rest of the offseason, do you like what they've done so far?
I was about to say everything except not understanding Gary Trent, even though the NBA is still investigating that. So I would say yes. Yeah.
Are you a fan of trying to play for the play-in, keep Tyler Hero, keep Miles Turner, keep Kuzma, and try to get into the play-in because you don't have a first-round pick in 27? Or are you of the belief of burn it down, get as many picks for the future as possible?
This isn't a burn-it-down team. They wouldn't have acquired those 4 players if it was a burn-it-down team. And I think this is very strategic by John Horst and the Bucks. I'm not in that room. I can't say that. That's a word I will always use, definitively. I can't say that definitively, but I think there's some strategy behind it, surrounding Tyler Hero with 3 of his teammates who will play right off the bat. He can teach some of the young guys. I think Hero has every reason to want to drop 22, 23 a game and maybe be a trade deadline piece. I think that's where the Bucks are heading, knowing that Hero was a big part of the deal for whatever comes at the trade deadline. Same with Jaime Jaquez. I think your keepers are Kalel Ware and Kasparis Yakachunis in that deal, and then obviously getting the Nate Ament and hoping that his potential pays off. And Braden Burries, they already had that 10th overall pick. I am of the mindset that this team is built to be a top 10 seed in the East, which means they are in the play-in. But I do think that Tyler Hero, he has all the motivation in the world to drop over 20 a game. And if you get some draft capital compensation from any team at the trade deadline so that he can go and try to compete for a championship, I think that was very well done by John Horst to bring in 4 players and strategically point them out as these are the 4 guys we want. I do think that 2 and Ware and Yakachunis were the 2 guys they were targeting for possibly the future. And the other 2 are trade deadline pieces to get draft compensation.
One last one for you. Are you a Luke Fickell believer?
Can you be?
No. That was not can you be. I said, are you a Luke Fickell believer?
I don't know if Luke Fickell is a Luke Fickell believer right now. Honestly. No, I'm being serious. I can't be a believer in a program that I haven't seen put success together. And I think that the coaching staff understands that. Luke Fickell's been very transparent, is we can't say we're an elite program without showing it on the field. So I don't know what your definition of belief is, but if it means winning 10 games, no. If it means going over 500, is that good enough for Wisconsin? So I don't know if anyone in that program right now is a believer of what they ultimately want to accomplish. So right now, I would say, and I think that Luke Fickell might say, you're not a believer until you can show it.
Cameron Ezeir, CBS 58, new sports anchor in Milwaukee, coming from the Fox Valley and Green Bay. We have definitely got to get you on it more often as we go forward here. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Sparky, nice meeting you, and looking forward to chatting more soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care. There he is. Cameron is there joining us here on the Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. I think we would all agree he needs to be on the show more often going forward. I got to turn you on. Go ahead. What?
He was awesome.
Yeah,
he was all
really
over.
good.
You know, he knows everything. He can dive on into it. It's awesome. He was great.
Yeah, he's in. He's in for sure going forward. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. And I can't wait to see what he has today. Don't forget the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network is proudly outfitted by Burgard Sporting Goods, our official apparel partner. Outfit your team or company with custom apparel today at bsg1881.com, bsg1881.com. Charlie got to look at some of the apparel we're going to have for the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network and is like, oh my goodness. Yeah, we got some cool stuff coming.
Sweatshirts, polos, hats, backpacks.
Letterman jackets.
Everything.
Bags.
A winter jacket if you want a winter jacket.
Yes.
There's everything for you, your girlfriend, boyfriend.
You're going to love it.
Father, mother, anybody will love it, man. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So you'll see Charlie wearing some of that fine stuff on video and myself as well. Charlie Sounds of the Day coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Sparky, Charlie Usen, still to come 4 o'clock hour. Green and Gold update. Jeff Rieger from the Ticket in Detroit talking about Scooble and Mize of the Tigers. And things Sparky missed coming up at 4:40. Hey, tomorrow, leadoff show at 2 o'clock. We'll be hosting that. And then after the last bit, you make the switch. Again, for 21 years, the Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with the franchise Tim Allen and myself. Don't forget, we have the Alumni Legends game tomorrow after the game. So they're doing some cool stuff before the game. So special prices, including $2.50 beer and brat specials until the first pitch. That's pretty cool. 25% off headwear at the Brewers team store throughout the Brewers-Rockies game tomorrow. And Alumni is going to be stationed throughout the concourse ramps for dedicated free photo opportunities from 1:50 to 2:25 p.m. How cool is that?
That's a pretty great deal. I'd be there for that for sure.
You surprised Lucroy is back and doing this?
Nah. I think
You're
he
not
still likes the
surprised?
guys. And, that was a different administration before. It's Matt Arnold running the show now, and maybe Matt Arnold didn't have enough of a voice when all that drama went down last.
So Gord Ash and Doug Melvin are throwing out the first pitches. Manny Pena, called him Pineapple, didn't they?
Mhm.
He's catching for Ash, and Jonathan Lucroy is catching for Melvin for the first pitch.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's all right. So it should be fun. I am most anxious to see how the pitchers look. That's you don't want anybody blowing out an elbow or something in a Legends game. That's what I'm a little bit most concerned about, to see how they look, and then or some dude's getting beamed in the box
That'll
from
be
somebody that hasn't thrown in a while. Just saying.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, where to?
All right, first up, we're going to head on over to Get Up, where Nick Saban was joining the show over on ESPN, live from the SEC Coaches Conference right now. He was discussing what defines the best conference in college football each year.
Whoever wins a national championship doesn't define who has the best conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best conference gets defined by how many good teams do you have from top to bottom. And I think the SEC has a lot of good teams from top to bottom. So I do think that the Big Ten has had 3 really, really good football teams. I mean, Michigan had a great team, beat us in overtime in the playoffs, 3 years ago. Ohio State, Indiana, they had really, really good teams. We continued last year. We had 5 teams in the playoffs, as an SEC conference, which says that there's, pretty good depth in this league. And a couple other teams, Vanderbilt and Texas, could have got in. So there's a lot of good teams in the SEC. I think every coach is trying to get his team to play at the highest level possible and hopefully get the best results possible. And if that leads to a championship, that's the ultimate goal. But I don't think they feel pressure just because somebody else won a couple championships.
I tend to agree with Saban. It should be based on just total depth, top to bottom, right? I mean, if you've got 6 to 8 teams that are all, really good teams, bowl teams, then yeah, you have a really good conference. But if you've got 3 heavyweights and then the bottom 4 or 5 are all garbage and aren't very good programs, then I don't care that you have a top 3. If the depth isn't as good, 1 through 20 or 16 or however many teams you may have in your conference, Charlie.
But I think part of that comes from, I guess, those top 3 teams being able to just recruit sometimes better in certain areas or have a deeper pool if you're the SEC versus the Big Ten occasionally. Like, I think other factors balance into that. If your top 3 teams are 1, 2, 3 nationally, I mean, I think that holds a lot of weight too within the conference.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Everybody's going to have their own opinion how they judge conferences. All right, where are we going next?
Next up, we're going to head on over to Just Baseball, where they were talking with Paul Hembekides, and he was sharing his Mason Miller to the Brewers trade idea.
I'm going to send Josh Adamczewski, Braylon Payne, Bishop Letson, and Sal Frelick in a 4-for-1 from Milwaukee to San Diego. And the reason why they're doing this, the reason why they could justify doing this, because ultimately this is not a model breaker. Teams like these, as you know, guys, are much less inclined to do splashy things at the deadline because they're often accompanied by the rental. And teams that operate in this market can't afford to do deals like that for rentals. But when you're dealing with someone that can impact 4 pennant races, and like you said, Peter, change the math in every game and series that you play, this is a justifiable thing for Milwaukee to do. If you talk to people that cover the Yankees and opposed the Yankees back in the late 90s, they talked about not only the dominance that Mariano Rivera demonstrated in the 9th inning, but the fact that he changed the math. You had to prepare to win the game in 8th inning against the Yankees, in 8 innings against the Yankees, and that's what you're going to have to do when you play the Brewers here. Imagine handing the ball from Jacob Mizorowski to Mason Miller in Game 6 of the NLCS with Kyle Tucker shaking in his boots in the batter's box. That's what's at stake here. This is something that they can do.
Yes, they can. And like we talked about earlier, they can go get anybody that they want. And in that scenario, you don't lose Pena, you don't lose Madej, you don't lose Fisher. I mean, you keep a good amount of your guys together. Adam Shevsky and Payne would suck because that area of this farm system is not a deep one in the outfield. So giving up 2 of your outfield prospects in that deal, that one would hurt. Bishop Letson, fine, go by. Sal Frelick, see ya. But losing 2 outfielders, if I could get rid of one of those outfielders and put a different position in, I think I would like it better if I could keep one of those 2. But that, I mean, if they make that deal, I think I would be okay with that deal.
I got one more short one. I think we just have to give some congratulations to a former Brewer on a big milestone for him this year.
Rengifo drives one to right field. That ball is back, and it is gone! A 2-run home run makes it a 1-run ball game. Unbelievable. Rengifo takes it out of the yard at 7-6.
That is his first home run of the season for either the Brewers or the San Diego Padres.
What day is it? July 23rd?
Yeah, too far into the season, man.
Holy crap. Like, everybody thought he would have probably had 6 to 8 by this point.
Right, we were more excited about him than David Hamilton, for sure.
Yes, for sure we were more excited about Rengifo. Yes, oh, well, that didn't work out so well. It happens. Coming up next, Green and Gold update. Then Jeff Rieger from the Ticket in Detroit talk about Scooble, Mize, and what the Tigers may do. That's all coming up. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky, Charlie with you here on a Thursday.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie Usen, producing today's show. Coming up this hour, Jeff Rieger, 97 won the ticket. Things that Sparky missed comes up at 4:40, 5 o'clock, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up. It's been a minute since we've had a Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up because we've been having these leadoff shows seemingly every night. Tomorrow is going to be weird because I've got to figure out what I want to do because the post-game show starts at 5:30. We technically go to 5. So do I just stay live till 5:30? Do we play back something from 5 to 5:30? I don't know. I'll get back to you. We'll see how the whole thing plays out one way or the other. So we'll have that going on tomorrow. So looking forward to all of that. It is 4 o'clock, which means this right here.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
Tomorrow, normally we do Plead the Fifth Fridays at 4:20. Brought to you by Habish, and Rotier. Tomorrow, we're going to switch it up. Tomorrow, we're going to do Habish, and Rotier's Plead the Fifth at 4 o'clock. And we are going to move Andy Herman from the Pack a Day podcast. He joins us tomorrow at 4:20. I tried 4. He couldn't do 4. So we agreed on 4:20. So I was like, that's fine. We'll just flip the segments. So 4:20 tomorrow, Andy Herman, Pack a Day podcast. And then 4 o'clock, we will do Plead the Fifth, brought to you by Habish, and Rotier. But we're in the green and gold update now. ESPN put out another piece today. They're doing a very good job, even though, they got rid of a bunch of people with all of these articles that they continue to put up. So today they went and they used their beat reporters from each team that ESPN employs, Rob Domofsky for, say, the Green Bay Packers, and asked what's the biggest storyline going in for, say, the Chicago Bears. And we'll see if Charlie agrees. The biggest storyline going in, according to Courtney Cronin, who covers the Bears, will Chicago's decisions on defense pay off? And you have Austin Booker, you have Deo, you have Gervin Dexter Sr., those guys all coming in. Plus, they bring in Devin Bush. They overhaul their secondary, which now will have Kobe Bryant, formerly of Kansas, when he was in college. I loved Kobe Bryant, big fan of the football player. A basketball player was good too. And Dylan Thieneman, who they drafted, was their first-round pick, right? And he'll be the other starting safety. Is that the storyline for you as a Bears fan, or would you have put something else?
I think that's pretty easily the storyline as a Bears fan. That was kind of the big question when they drafted Dylan Thieneman. A lot of people weren't sure if that was the spot where you had the biggest need. You definitely needed safety. You lost 2 of them this offseason. Yep. That's definitely a worry, but do you want to spend a first-round pick on a position that a lot of other teams have been able to kind of make do with lower draft picks or veteran free agents like you've been able to do in the past few years? And then they didn't really add anything to their pass rush. That was the other big concern, is that they made changes that felt very lateral this offseason.
Yeah, those 3 guys that I said were all there last year, but that unit ranked 31st in pass rush win rate and 29th in pressure percentage.
It's all the same questions that you had to finish last season, and I don't think that's a good spot to be in, so you have to question their defense for sure.
The Lions' biggest storyline: has Detroit's Super Bowl window closed? Whoa. So quickly?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess. Quickly? I feel like you could get a little more specific with that. Yeah, there's a lot of problems, I think, with the Lions team to end last season. But I think the question for me, and you saw him without him later on in the year, but Jahmyr Gibbs the whole season without David Montgomery and having that same kind of relationship with that guy in that backfield. Does Isaiah Pacheco really replace that? Does the offensive line get any better from last season? Because they ended the year not great, not healthy. Their defensive front, I think you could be looking at their defensive line too and really question that.
To me, the story is just the offensive coordinator.
You lose Terry and Arnold. What do you do at cornerback? That's the other one.
You get the Cardinals offensive coordinator to come over here. Last year, it did not work. And they fired John Morden early on, and then Campbell took over. we'll see what this offense looks like with them. Vikings, obviously, as quarterback. For the Packers, Rob Domofsky put, how can they avoid another late season collapse? The Packers were 9-3-1, had a 9-point lead in the third quarter of their Week 15 game against the Broncos, who would go on to be the top seed in the AFC. That's when it all crumbled. The Packers lost to the Broncos and didn't win another game the rest of the way, ending the season on a 5-game losing streak. The Broncos game wasn't the only one they were away. They blew fourth quarter leads in 2 losses to the Bears in Week 16 and in the wild card game. Matt LaFleur talked all season about finishing games better, but that's not exactly something you can practice in a tangible way, writes Rob Domofsky of ESPN. The question that I have for you is this, because we all like to act like we know something, right? What advice would you give Matt LaFleur on how to avoid another late season collapse like what happened last year? What piece of advice? If Matt said, man, I don't know, I'm lost, man. We got to make sure we finish stronger than we finished in the past. I'm open for suggestions and ideas. What would you tell Matt LaFleur if he was standing in front of you? What would you tell him if he asked you that question? Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials as well at WI Sports Radio. And don't forget, if you missed what happened on today's show, text the word Sparky, Sparky, to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line at 414-677-1250 to get a link to today's show. You can do that each and every day, and it'll send you a link back to the Wisconsin Sports Daily podcast page. Or just go to wsportsradio.com or download your favorite podcast at. Charlie, what piece of advice would you give Matt LaFleur?
When you have your foot on somebody's neck coming out of halftime, keep your foot on their neck. Stop being conservative. Go out there and be aggressive. Go out there and show that if you're aggressive in the first half and you're winning by 14 points, start winning by 28 points. Get up way ahead before you start just dialing it back. Trust that Jordan Love is going to go out there and be the quarterback that you paid for. These wide receivers are going to go out there and play well because you paid well for them and because you drafted them in the first round. Go and prove that you have faith in your offense to take control too. We all know you're an offensive mastermind. We all know you're going to put these guys into situations that are good for them, but now they have to prove to you that they trust you and your game plan and that they're going to go out there and execute it without you manhandling everything. Matt LaFleur just needs to take a step back and let the offense be great.
I think my advice to Matt LaFleur is you just got to be healthy, dude. Like that's really what it is at the end of the day. You got to stay healthy. Like you can't have your best pass rusher miss games at the end of the year and in the playoffs. Puts you in a horrible situation. You can't have your offensive line banged up and then expect that you're going to go play the way you should when you're healthy. You can't be without your best tight end and one of your best offensive weapons because he's down to injury. Nobody wants to talk about injuries being a factor last year, but folks, it was everything.
Yeah, but how is that advice to the coach? Like the coach doesn't fully control injuries. Yes, correct. I know he let some guys go and probably play longer than they should have, but that's not every case. Like he can't control Micah going down like that.
I don't think there's. Listen. When I agree. I said give advice. I don't have advice. I don't think he's bad. I think he's really good. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I think you should run the ball more. Or, oh, like you said, keep your foot on the neck. At the end of the day, your most talented players need to be on the football field if you expect to win games. And they weren't down one guy. They were down several guys by the time this thing ended last year. Your right tackle was in so much pain all year. It was absolutely ridiculous. So, again, that's the biggest key. We've been talking about this, and Bakhtiari has said it. Every year we talk about, boy, can you imagine if they were healthy in the playoffs, how much better this team would have looked? This has been an ongoing conversation for at least 5 years with this team. At least 5 years. It
has been. And again, I do think that is a huge problem for this team, especially for this offense, for getting the just juice to keep going. Because right now you're having stop, start with this offense because you have guys going down that are important to your game plan that have just gotten going. That's really crucial to this team. But again, I think with Matt LaFleur, when talking about giving him advice, there's other ways to then say, okay, if you are going to have a healthy team, how do you guys take that next step? I think we saw what that promise was in the first half of the season last year where it is a Super Bowl caliber team. How do you keep that up throughout the rest of the season? How do you avoid a 7 seed again beyond just the injuries?
From the 920 simply says, open the playbook up. Now, I would assume open the playbook up if I were to translate that, because it was a 3-word text. If I were to translate that, it would be throw the football more, right? That's what you want. Be more aggressive than they have been as far as running the football as much as they do, especially in the second half of the year. But I think any coach, if they were coaching in Green Bay, Wisconsin, when there's no roof in play and you're playing in extreme cold and wet conditions sometimes, is not going to game plan to throw the ball a ton. You know you're going to have to run and play defense. And their defense got worse as the year went on after Micah Parsons got hurt. And running the football also was an issue because your offensive line was banged up and not good. First part of the year, Aaron Banks was hurt. And when he was on the field, he wasn't who he was. It wasn't until the end of the year where Aaron Banks finally started going. Your starting center that didn't start off well, he got hurt. And he was one of your top 5 offensive linemen for sure going in there, probably 2 behind Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins. That was a failure. So now I got to move a guard to center and have him learn on the job, and Sean Ryan. And then you got a rookie playing at right tackle in Escalade, in Belton. None of that added up to be in the favor of the head coach, where it's like, dude, it was so obvious what you should have done. You had a fully healthy squad, and you still screwed this up. I firmly believe if they had a fully healthy squad and they lost the last 5, he does not get extended.
I think he gets fired.
He's
probably.
Gone.
I think
he
gets fired. I don't really care what happens.
But the injuries,
it have to be a Coach Bud run in the playoffs,
correct,
for him to keep that job,
which they did not have. So the injuries saved him, I think, to a larger degree, because there's no way you can justify firing him for the last 5 weeks, considering really how hurt they were at the end of the day. Let's go to Zach in Menominee Falls. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, Zach?
Hey, what's up, fellas? You're correct in that statement. Injuries saved them, because injuries had nothing to do with that playoff loss to the Bears. LaFleur was terrible all season. I could give you guys, we could talk about full segment on how bad he was throughout the year. But I'm going to give you one example, just one. The Bear game, remember when they got the onside kick on us and then they won it in overtime?
Yep.
Did you know, like, nobody talks about this. I figured this out for myself. Did you know Matt LaFleur did not use 1 second half timeout that game? In a game that went to overtime, he saved all 3. Go fact check it. He saved, I have never seen that from a coach in the history of watching football, college, high school, pros. I have never seen a coach save all 3 of his timeouts in a nail-biting game that went to overtime. Now, one more example. Well, I'm going to give you one more quick one. Philadelphia. He had 2 timeouts, 4th and 1. Remember Philly knew our play? He had 2 timeouts game on the line. He didn't use 1. LaFleur is terrible last year. He is the reason the Packers aren't winning more in the playoffs.
Why do you think policy extended him?
Because they're kind of like, they're kind of like, they're playing it safe. Like, they don't want to, like, take chances on another coach. I wrote policy. I wrote him an email. This is before the playoff game happened, where I wrote him of all the mistakes.
Did he write back?
No.
No, he didn't write back.
Email on all the mistakes LaFleur made throughout the season. Carolina, 4th and 9. 7-point game. He goes for it on 4th and 9 on the 11-yard line. We need a good coach, or this Packer team is never going to go anywhere.
All right,
thanks, guys.
That was a great call. Don't be a stranger. That was good. Passion, energy, bringing facts, all of that. A+. You want to know how to make a call? That's how you make a call. That was a great job by Zach.
By the time of that onside kick, the Packers had not used a timeout in the second half.
Like he said. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Should a coach use a timeout if the coach doesn't need a timeout?
No.
Just to say that you use a timeout?
No, I hate when like coaches do that sometimes, where they just use a random one at the end
Because
of the
they
game
have
when they're
it.
up by like 30 just because they
They
want
have it.
to. Like
Right.
that's dumb. Like if you don't have to, you don't have to. I think at some point, like in that game, maybe you should have on offense, on defense, just to like try to slow both the Bears down because they had so much momentum
they did.
laid on in that game.
Yeah.
You should have at least tried. Like he had a reason to use one and didn't. That was what's frustrating.
Let's see. 262. What Matt needs to do for us is to be better at the end of the year, is to practice inside when it gets cold at least half the time. They're one of the only teams who practice year-round outside, and I think it leads to more injuries from the 262. I don't know. I think there's two trains of thought on that, right? The first train of thought is if you have the ability to play in the temperatures that you're going to be playing in on Sunday, and that's where you can practice, makes all the sense in the world to practice in those conditions. Now, as far as from the injury perspective goes, you don't want slipping and falling in the snow and all of that. You could still practice inside with all the doors open and still get that cold feel without having to practice in the elements. But then at the same time, I think there are some coaches that, hey, man, if it looks like rain on Sunday and it's raining on Thursday or Friday, we're going to practice in the rain to get used to holding onto that wet ball at times. I mean, you played in high school and college, obviously not the NFL, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Did your coaches make you practice in the elements or no?
Yeah, for the most part. During playoff season in high school, we would go to an indoor facility and practice there most days, but we'd have one day outside back at the stadium just to like see how it would feel because it was usually pretty cold by the time playoffs got around over
Fair
here.
Start getting numb.
At Elmhurst, we didn't really have that ability. We didn't have an indoor facility near us or on campus, so it's always outside. D3 college football.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Sometimes we had COVID year, that first year of practice, we didn't start practicing until winter because that's when things started kind of opening up again. The field was just covered in ice every single day, and we had to go out there with shovels, break the ice off at 5 o'clock in the morning just so that we could practice from
at
6
any
to
point
9.
were you thinking about coming home and saying, I'm not doing this?
Yeah. Pretty much every day during that first year, because we had, again, everything had to be scheduled out in a certain way with all the sports teams because nobody could have that close of contact with each other. So again, football, we'd be working out during the winter at 3 o'clock in the morning, just at practice at 6, and then you'd be dead the rest of the day. It sucked.
That does not sound fun. Jeff Rieger, 97 won the ticket. He comes up next. He'll tell us about what Tiger fans are feeling about Skubal and Casey Mize and what he thinks may end up happening with the Detroit Tigers, if they're going to trade him or stand pat and try and make a run here. He's up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Charlie Houston producing today's show, as always. Joining us now, I've called him 911 Rieger for as long as I've known him. He always will be 911 Rieger. I'll be 75 still. Hey, remember when? I'll be saying that. Jeff Rieger, 97.1 The Ticket in Detroit. Follow him on X at Rieger1984. How are we doing, Jeff Rieger?
You're telling me I'm going to at least live till 75? I'm doing pretty good.
I said I was going to live to 75. I said nothing about you. You'll be younger. You're younger. How old are you, Rieger?
I'd rather not say. Why so many personal questions? My goodness. How old are you? You go first. I'll go second.
50.
Oh, I'm the same as you. Wow.
Okay, well, then we both might live to 75 then. Okay, then.
Or, you never know, Sparky. You just never know.
No, you don't. But
Great start to this interview. What's going on, man?
Hey, the Brewers are pretty good again this year. I know it's shocking and surprising to everybody. That's why Murphy's going to win his third Manager of the Year award, because they continue to doubt the Brewers. Having said that, the Tigers, besieged by injuries and everything else, 48-54, but just 4.5 games out of the wild card in the AL, where the Red Sox of all teams currently are sitting on the third wild card at 52-49 after a 15-game winning streak for them. There's been talk amongst the national media about, will the Tigers sell or will the Tigers sit tight? Does it essentially all come down to how they play between now and August 3rd?
Sparky, I got to tell you, it's all mind-numbing. It's all mind-numbing. You look at the internet, you look at the Twitter, you hear Tarek Skubal talk. It's all nonsense. It's all Scott Boras pulling the strings. Oh, he doesn't want to get traded. Oh, he does want to get traded. Oh, he thinks his team can win a World Series. I cannot wait for August 3rd. But you asked the question, is it about the next 10 games? The next 10 games are against the dregs of the American League. You got 4 with the Kansas City Royals, who are missing Bobby Witt. You got 3 with the Baltimore Orioles, who were on a 7-game win streak and are still under 500. And then you got 3 against the hapless, hopeless, awful Sacramento, Vegas, Oakland, whatever you want to call them, A's, right? So if you're saying 10 games determines what we do with Tarek Skubal, that's lunacy to me. This team has played over 100 games, 102 to be exact. They're under 500. Without Skubal, they went 6-22 in the month of May.
Oof.
You mentioned only 4.5 games out of the wild card. They got to jump 5 teams.
Yep.
The last 10 games, they've been very good. They've gained nothing in the standings. Since June 1st, they're 10 games above 500. They haven't gained much. If you're waiting to see how you do against really bad baseball teams that you absolutely should beat, I don't think you should be the POBO, the president of baseball operations. So the question is answered, I guess. But yes, I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think they feel no rush. They're going to wait and see where they sit once August 1st or 2nd rolls around. They don't play on the 3rd. 5 o'clock's the deadline. And they'll go from there. But if you ask me, he should have been gone yesterday or the day before. Sparky, I don't know if you follow, and I know this is a long-winded answer. I apologize. But Tarek Skubal cannot help himself from talking. And he was in The Athletic yesterday. The interview was done in June. He admitted to not feeling right in his elbow in the offseason, decided not to get an MRI because the Tigers were taking him to arbitration. He decides to do nothing about it, goes into spring training, and then eventually he has to go under the scope, and the Tigers go 6-22. So, if I'm a Tiger fan, I want this guy gone yesterday, not to mention you probably get a decent amount for him, and not to mention this team's not going anywhere. But again, I don't know if they trade him. Sorry for the long answer.
But as a fan, I mean, y'all signed Framber Valdez in the offseason to a pretty lucrative deal. It was all about win now, win now. And if you decide, okay, well, I'm trading Skubal, I'm trading Casey Mize, and we're going to start to unload guys. Yes. What are we doing here in Detroit? Just that quickly, it goes from playing for now to all of a sudden now playing for the future. What then happens with Valdez? I don't know. This whole thing is confusing to me.
Yeah, but you went for it, right? You went for it, and I give Scott Harris, the GM, president of baseball ops, credit, right? You wanted to go for it. But secretly, I don't know that Scott wants to trade Tarek because he will forever get judged by the return he gets for Tarek.
For sure.
But I think a little of it is exactly what you said. They went for it. They signed Framber. They brought back Verlander, who's been a disappointment because he can't stay healthy. And I think they think we can still win the World Series, or at least in a weak American League get to the playoffs. The problem is if you keep Tarek Skubal and you miss the playoffs, and according to Fangraphs, they have a 32.6% chance to make the playoffs. If you miss the playoffs, he walks for nothing. You get a comp pick for him.
Yep.
Hell, you're right up against the luxury tax. It might not even be a first-round pick. It might be a fourth-round pick. So I do think things have changed. When you go 6-22 in the month of May, you got to trade the guy and do what's best for your future. And in the meantime, keep playing ball. Like there's these reports that maybe they trade Skubal but then buy to help the remainder of the team. But I would say you got to trade Tarek regardless.
The report that I saw, Jeff Rieger, was that they want a controllable pitcher back that can be, major league ready and can come in and pitch and potentially still help to keep them on their path to the postseason. The name thrown out for the Brewers was Logan Henderson, who just pitched last night for the Brew Crew. But it's going to take more than a controllable pitcher, I would assume, to get Skubal.
And I would agree with you, but I don't know if you're Scott Harris, why you're even throwing that out there, if it's true, right? Again, I don't know what to believe. Is it Boris speaking? Is it Is it Harris speaking? Because, Scott Boris controls this entire thing.
Yep.
But I think it's the wrong direction, because I think you should be looking for the best futures package. Like, for instance, and I highly doubt you could get a Jesus Mate, right? Your number one overall prospect. But that should be the target, or a Luis Pena prospect should be the target. And again, if you want to then turn around and buy from your own prospect pool and try to save this season, do your thing. But I wouldn't want a controllable starting pitcher for Tarek Skubal because A, your rotation's already pretty good in Detroit, and B, why not use Skubal for your future? Again, it's going to be bad if you got to trade him because your point of it all failed is so true. But the only thing worse would be not trading him or not getting what he's worth. This is the best trade chip in baseball. Hopefully you fleece a team. Hopefully you get a bidding war. Hopefully you deal him and you set up your future accordingly. And then again, in the meantime, if you want to keep playing ball and go for it, do your thing. But the other thing nobody talks about is Scott Harris had a first place team last year. And his trade deadline consisted of 40-year-old Charlie Morton, Rafael Montero, Paul Sewald, who was on the IL, Chris Paddock. So he wasn't serious about a first-place team last year. I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out this year. You're not in position to make the playoffs. You got to act accordingly. I don't know that they will, though.
Not everybody will be aggressive like one Dave Dombrowski. That much I do know.
Oh, he was the best. He was fun.
I love Dombrowski. Dombrowski used to come on with Tim Allen and me back in the day when we were doing our show on this little AM station in Kenosha, Wisconsin, when he was with the Marlins. He would come on once a month when he was with the Marlins all the time. Super nice guy. Jeff Rieger. What?
Oh, you got to go. Yeah, I just got to tell you, there was nothing better than being in Detroit when Dave was the GM and president. And every trade deadline, when the Tigers were good, you knew he was swinging for the fences. It was awesome.
Correct. Yep. Jeff Rieger, 97.1 The Ticket. Weeknights. Him and Woj do a great job over there. Follow him on X at Rieger1984. Tell me about Casey Mize. That's another guy that's going to be a free agent this year. He's not going to cost as much as Tarek Skubal. He's dinged up as well. I've had him in fantasy all year. Talk about Casey Mize and the effect he's had.
Yeah, he's been great until the second half kind of started. It hasn't been as good. The problem with Casey Mize is, well, there's twofold. Number one, a free agent as well. So Tigers got to figure out what to do with him. You're going to sign him long term. They once haggled over $25,000 in arbitration. The belief is the blood isn't the greatest between the Tigers and Casey Mize, so maybe they let him walk. I think if they choose to go for it in the next 10 days, if they have success, I think they're keeping Casey Mize. But if Skubal goes, then you probably deal Casey Mize too. Of course, he won't be as expensive as Tarek Skubal, not as good as Tarek Skubal. The problem with Mize is also he gets injured a ton, and now he's dealing with an a catching hand injury, and he's also dealing with a groin injury. So, really good pitcher, former first overall pick of the draft. I think you could definitely have him if you're interested. I just don't know that I trust him down the stretch because consistently down the stretch, second half, not been as good as he was the first half.
Rieger, what is Detroit right now? I'm curious because the Pistons were really good last year. They haven't been really good for a while. The Lions had been really good. Then they went through some struggles last year, and nobody really knows what to expect this year. And then the Tigers here, they're kind of a letdown. So, like, you're on the ticket. Like, what's the team? Because here it's Packers all the time. That's all people want to talk about.
Right.
And Brewers when they're rolling like they have been. And then Bucks are always a distant third. What's it like in Detroit right now?
Yeah, so you know what? As you know, during sports radio, in the middle of the summer, it's usually dead, right?
Yep.
You got to scrounge for topics like, hey, are you good with not returning a shopping cart at the grocery store parking lot? Do you feel bad afterwards? 248-539, you give out the number, right? You know how it is. This summer has been amazing, though, because, and I know there's no hockey team in Milwaukee, but the Red Wings had their captain request a trade out. And then I'm not sure, that captain got the GM, Steve Yzerman, who is an icon in this team, fired. And now they're looking for another GM to take his spot, and they don't know if Larkin is going to stick around. With the Pistons, 60-win basketball team, 1 seed in the East. Trajan Langdon goes out and says, all right, well, we got to get Cade Cunningham, the Robin, right? Go get another stud. He swung and missed at Kawhi. He swung and missed at all kinds of, like, Durant, and he didn't do it. And then you have Jalen Duren, who is saying, like, listen, man, I am not happy with the money you want to give me. I want to go elsewhere. But nobody wants him. So that drama is going on. And then it's been nonstop Scooble. Like, legitimately, Sparky, I know the host might be sick about talking it. Every time you mention Scooble, you can always get 4 to 5 phone calls. People say the same thing. Well, maybe you can keep him, or don't trade him, or I don't like him. He came out early in a game 5 last year, so get rid of him. And you get the Lions just around the corner who are in last place. So right now, as you know, anger in sports radio is a good thing because it forces people to call up and talk about things. There's been a lot of anger in Detroit recently.
You just don't want apathy.
Oh, you don't want apathy. And you know what? To tell you the truth, like, happiness is great.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, when the Lions went 15-2 a couple years ago, which eventually ended in an awful loss to the Commanders, the phone traffic and the interest, it wasn't as good as a 500 team. That's what you pretty much want as a sports radio host. You want a 500 team because there's all kinds of emotions and feelings that go with it.
I just want a World Series in my lifetime in Milwaukee. That's all I want, Rieger.
Last time you guys won a World Series, 80.
They've never won a World Series.
The Brewers have never won. Oh, I was thinking of the Orioles.
They went to the World Series in '82 and lost to Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals. That's the only time they've been there.
Oh my God! How long have the Brewers been in existence?
70s.
How did I not realize this?
Yeah, 70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. I mean, listen, the Tigers' last World Series was '84. They only got 4 of them in 125 years of existence. So what's worse?
I'd like one. One would be good. One would be NBA good. I mean, we got one out of the Bucks. I never thought I'd see that with Giannis. So I got one. I got one there.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to the fine Milwaukee listening audience.
But
by the way, I miss going to Noodles and Company back in the day when I used to work in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese is delicious.
Yeah.
I think I went a couple with you. But I this is going to sound rather disrespectful. But do you really have a chance to beat the Dodgers? I mean,
that's the thing, right?
The same exact thing as last year.
But Rieger, that's the thing. That's what this is all about here. So you've got the stud in Miz, who was just trying to figure out who he was last year, and they weren't really counting on him to be a guy necessarily in the postseason. Then you have Harrison providing his elbow and forearm are all right. He's been a stud all year. So that's 2. Now, if you find a third guy to go along with those 2, you potentially have 3 stud pitchers at the front, and then you hope your offense shows up more than it did last year against the Dodgers. Part of what happened last year against the Dodgers, if we're being honest with ourselves, was this team was emotionally and physically spent after beating the Cubs and the Trader in the playoffs. Like, they had the L flag on the field. They were playing Sweet Home Chicago or whatever it was in the clubhouse 2 or 3 times and rubbing it into the Cubs. Like, that kind of was, in a weird way, their World Series. And then they get to the Dodgers and they just didn't have anything left.
I like that. That's a good point. So this year, the rival's already taken care of, so now go beat the Dodgers. I hear you.
I'm rooting for – I'm hoping Philly gets the Dodgers before the Brewers do, and Philly gets rid of the Dodgers first. and then the Milwaukee Brewers get Philly, and then let's see what happens.
Well, here's what I would say, Sparky. Not that I'm giving your GM any advice at all. Go get Derek Skubal before the Dodgers do. Like, if he's to be had, and I know there's some warts, and he's probably not quite the same guy since coming under the Skubal scope.
Yeah.
But my goodness, that guy would be a huge addition to your chances.
I want James Wood. That's who I want.
Oh, is he Nationals are going to trade James Wood?
4 years. 4 years of availability left. You have the best farm system in baseball. You have the number one prospect in baseball. They can get whoever they want to get if they really want to go get somebody.
No way. That kid is a stud.
Right. Put James Wood in that outfield with Churio and Mitchell, and let's see what happens. Put him in the middle of this Brewers lineup, and now offensively, everything changes. Now, instead of slap hitting Sal Frelick or Lara out there, you get a dude that's almost at 30 home runs already. That changes everything.
I think that trade will forever go down as a great trade because for Juan Soto, they got him, they got Mackenzie Gore, they got C.J. Abram.
Yeah.
I mean, but are there reports that Washington's going to deal him? What, they're 8.5 out of their division. The Wild are
right.
They're 1.5 games out.
Nightingale reported that in the offseason that they were open for business on C.J. Abrams and James Wood.
Wow. That would be amazing.
So,
Hell,
we'll see.
That would be, yes. I would say give whatever it took for that kid. But
thank you. Yes, you're with me. A lot of Brewers fans don't want to trade Madej even for him. Think I'm nuts.
Who cares? What has Madej proven? He's a prospect. He's a great prospect, right?
Yes,
but
number
not
one.
Prospects right now. Look in Detroit. Kevin McGonigal, a phenomenal prospect. He just was an all-star. He's awesome. It doesn't always work that way. You know, Sparky, real quick, I remember doing radio with you back in 2007 when we were talking about over the weekend if the Brewers should bring up Ryan Braun or not. Do you remember this?
Yep.
Yes, that's how far I go back to Brewers prospects.
That spring training, Braun hit damn near 400, and they didn't take him with them out of spring training. They sent him to the minors. And Tim Allen and I were livid at spring training that they sent him back. But again,
well, you know how that works.
But
they at least changed the rules for that.
Right. But my one of my favorite memories was you and I hanging out at the apartment watching the Colts-Bears Super Bowl.
Yes.
And then going and cutting up all the audio that Mike Clemens sent back to us and then going to the bar after.
That's fun. That's fun. I didn't realize you were a huge Colts fan until I watched that game with you and realized how happy you were.
Yes.
And then, of course, I was salty considering I'm from Detroit. And just like you've never seen a World Series victory, the Lions have never made a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. But do you remember what that was all about? Rami and I had that bet. And Rami had to get the horseshoe shaved into the back of his head.
Oh, yeah.
And hold a billboard out in front of a Bucs game at the Bradley Center that said "Go Colts" on it after the Bears lost to the Colts. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful day. Rieger, thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
Sparky, always a pleasure, brother. Good luck this year. Good luck. Go beat the Dodgers, will you?
That would be awesome. Take care. There he is, Jeff Rieger, 97.1 The Ticket. Follow him on X at Rieger1984. And, of course, he joined us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Think Sparky missed is coming up. Don't forget about our fine folks over there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Their kitchen is amazing. All-day brunch with steak and eggs, a steak and bagel sandwich, pancakes, and more. Wisconsin-style appetizers that feature a lot of different cheese, of course. It's got all things chicken like wings and tenders. Build your own burger. Desserts highlighted by the MVP Turtle Sundae. Tons of cold beverages. Over 40 beers on tap. Dozen different specialty cocktails. Have to be over 21 or older to enter the casino. Bet above the rest. Check out Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee right now by simply going to Potawatomi.com. Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky, Fiver, Charlie Usen over there. Habish, and Rotier. Tomorrow, plead the fifth. Your chance to tell somebody just to hush it up. You know what you're talking about. Just hush it up. You may nominate me tomorrow for all we know. We'll find out. Normally, that's at 4:20 on Fridays. However, tomorrow, Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast will join us at 4:20. It's pretty much the only time he could do. So he's going to join us at 4:20 tomorrow. So plead the fifth. We'll go at 4 o'clock tomorrow instead. We'll just move it up one segment. Habish, and Rotier helping injured Wisconsinites since 1930. 13 locations across Wisconsin. 13. If you're listening to us on the game in Wausau, they're there. If you're listening to us on the Fan in Madison, they're there. How about a WNFL in the Fox Valley in Green Bay and Appleton? Yeah, they got locations there too, and all over southeastern Wisconsin. National reputation, hometown service. National reputation, why? Because they win a bunch of cases. They've helped make safety laws over cases that they've won. It's unbelievable. The hometown service part, that's the part that we care about, right? Being approachable, being people that are going to treat you like your friends or your family member. They're going to do everything they can to get you what you deserve after you went through a tremendous amount. Car totaled, hospital bills, doctor bills, all that stuff. Confused, scared, can't sleep. You need somebody to take some of that weight off your shoulders. They're there for you. They're going to help you. Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service. And again, check them out online at habish.com. Again, that is habish.com. Yesterday, when we were talking, time now for things Sparky missed. Yesterday, when we were talking about the MLBPA and what they want to do with the amateur draft, which is in July right now, I said, yeah, why the heck would you move it back to June? You're during the All-Star break. It makes all the sense in the world. Just leave it alone where it is. There's no way the owners are going to move that. I got off the air, and to my shocking surprise, Eric Kratz laid down why it's actually a brilliant idea by the players to move the draft to June.
If we shift it to June, you know what we can do? We can make a spectacle out of Omaha. We can make a spectacle out of the College World Series. Yes, not everybody's going to be there, but you know how many are going to be there? Way freaking more than we're in Philadelphia this year, and you can have it in one stable location. Now we're growing anticipation for the draft that Major League Baseball has said, hey, you know what? We are not saying it out loud, but we want to quiet quit on the minor leagues and just allow colleges to spend the money. And for fans who say, oh, well, they'll just pump some money into the colleges. No, they won't. It's not going to create better players. That's not development. Colleges don't develop players. Wake Forest develops pitchers. Tennessee develops pitchers. West Virginia has got their pitching lab. Yes, there are places that do really good at creating a type of player and increasing talent, but college is not the place where you should allow your minor league development to happen because coaches need to win, want to win. Colleges pay them to win. So to me, Major League Baseball shifts it back to June like it was. Now you have a marquee event that's already there. Let's just piggyback off of that.
I actually love the idea. I do. I think it's a great idea. Now, the question is, where then are you going to do it? Like, I'm not familiar with Omaha as far as, do they have a gigantic indoor facility where you can do this? Do you do it in the parking lot, essentially, kind of like the draft does, where they go around, take over huge parking lots and make it a spectacle like the NFL does? Do you do it that way? That seems the easiest. Do you just put it in the outfield and sell tickets and put it in the actual stadium itself? And to Kratz's point, from Foul Territory, Eric Kratz, former Brewers catcher, to his point, yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys that are playing in the College World Series that will be right there that then can walk up on stage when their name gets called and all of that. He's 100% right. It's a great idea. Jake Qualls over there in the Dugout YouTube chat says, I want Mason Miller. I hear you. I just think Brewers history says they get guys off the scrap heap and make them into closers. That would be completely against everything the Brewers have done for the last 20 years if they got aggressive and went for him. I wouldn't be opposed to it necessarily. It just doesn't seem to make as much sense. A starting pitcher or two probably is the way they end up going, is my guess. That'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, Wisconsin Sports wrap-up with the 3 things that you missed from earlier today. Enjoy your night, Wisconsin. Have a good one. Talk to you tomorrow at 2. Toodles!